Hello, a very good afternoon to my dear students. Myself, Professor Sapna Sharma from BBSCA Department, Business Administrative Campus, Modern College. So, welcome back, my dear students, once again to this cloud computing MOOC course for your semester 6. So, as you people belong to the to the TY, that is the final year. So, becoming familiar with various type of technology. Along with that, current trendy technologies are very much mandatory so far. So, before moving to our current topic, let me just go through what we people have studied into our last session. So in last session, dear student, we have underwent through the topic so called as cloud computing, the introduction to cloud computing, where we understood the very basic fundamental of cloud computing, what exactly cloud computing is, what are the different type of models or the services it is having. Then we have underwent through two different type of models over there, and two different type of the services that are being provided by the cloud, and advantages and disadvantages of the cloud. We have also seen some description with respect to the service model, that is ask, SaaS and PaaS. Okay, so there I have explained you, I would say some definitions with respect to the ask, SaaS and PaaS. Okay, so now let us move further, dear student. Let we go ahead, like, as we understood what exactly cloud is. Cloud is an internet technology which is having a lot of capacity. But before justifying your statement for the cloud technology, we should understand the traditional IT infrastructure also. So in our today's session, we will be doing a lot of comparison between your cloud technology and your traditional IT infrastructure. So let me move. As I said into my previous session also, we have 3 to 4 different type of cloud. Into our last session, we have done 4 different type of cloud: public, private, hybrid, and community. In general, dear student, we people are using the 3 different type of clouds which are very much famous. That is public, private, and hybrid. These are the very general type of clouds that we people use in the day to day life, like with respect to the cloud. Like if we belong to any of the organization which uses the cloud, so there also we uses these type of clouds. So clouds are they have become a very essential commodity, you can say, in everyone's life nowadays, whether it is an organization or whether it is you're talking about your personal life. Everywhere you are using this technology. Now, as this particular image depict, it is a world. It is the world of what? It is the world of data, dear student. It is an open space where you are just doing what? You are just storing the data, and you give the accessibility to that storable data to everyone. It is very much important, dear student. You can understand that cloud computing itself is a universe. It is itself is a world of what? World of data, the data which is reposited, right? So you can understand how the things are liberally differing, they how they are changing. Okay, the changes which are happening, they are somehow very conscious, at the very different level. What we are thinking about the technology is not what exactly technology. It is apart from there. It is something very much different. Now, so let us revise once again. If you talk about the cloud computing, what is cloud computing? Now, before moving to the cloud computing, we should understand from where this particular concept came so far. We should understand the history, right? When we understand the history, then only we can easily do the comparison with the traditional method too. So, as I'm talking about the history of cloud computing, so this cloud computing concept was it was evolved, actually it was generated in the year 1950, and the company so called as IBM, one of the most leading techno savvy company and most ancient techno savvy company, that is IBM, in 1950 generated with it. And previously it used to call JRE, that is remote job entry process, you can say. Cloud computing was not cloud computing before, it was JRE, that is remote job entry. Mark these points, dear student. We called it as JRE. Okay, so I also might mark these points wherever I can. So these are the important stuffs. So in 1950, okay, IBM initiated cloud computing and it is called as RJE, that is remote job entry. Okay, remote job entry process. Now, in 2006, dear student, after a long time back, in 2006, can say Amazon came in front and Amazon published their very first public cloud, which is known as AWS, that is Amazon Web Service. Next we come to, we understood what is the history, right? What is the history? And let me tell you one thing, that AWS is free of cost, means like it is free service, so called as till now. And many of the organizations use this cloud free services so that they can do a lot of testing onto the cloud based data and all. Now, let me just navigate you people towards the traditional computing area, that is the traditional IT computing area. So, the traditional computing area is being divided, or it is being bifurcated into two different zones. One is shared hosting and second one is dedicated hosting, dear student. Now, before moving to the further part, we should understand what is shared hosting and what is dedicated hosting. See, shared hosting or the dedicated hosting, they are consist of two words. So first of all, we should understand what is the meaning of hosting. You must have studied hosting in your HTML, dear students. So in hosting, we publish our content. Okay, if it is a normal level of hosting, then we host wherever we are supposed to host it or publish it. We are supposed to put it, right? But if it is a web hosting, then obviously we people are hosting or we people are publishing, means we are storing or we are putting our data onto the server so that whoever uses that particular server can access that specific data, right? This is what the hosting is. Hosting is nothing but you are publishing something, you are telling others something, you're claiming something. So in traditional computing, I have shared hosting and I have dedicated hosting. So in traditional computing, if you talk about the shared hosting, so it is nothing but it allows multiple users, you can say, multiple type of websites, you can say multiple accounts will be there, and they all will be belonging to a single web server. It's multiple users, multiple visitors, multiple websites, multiple accounts, they all will be belonging to the same specific area, same specific single specific web server. That is no, because since multiple users are sharing the same web server, multiple accounts are using the same web server, right? Similarly, when you talk about the dedicated hosting, so there is no provision of multiplicity. One to one relationship would be there. And one to one relationship in the sense matlab only single user would be allowed to use the web server at a single instant of time. Okay, only single user is allowed to use the web server at a single instant of time. These are the description with respect to the shared hosting and dedicated hosting. I hope you people would have understood it. Now, let me move on to my cloud scenario, dear student. Obviously, cloud is more powerful. So my cloud is having three different type of component. One is client computers, one is distributed servers, and third one is the data center. As you can see, I have preferred a diagram So this is my internet. So here in one zone I have the data center, in one zone I have the distributed servers, in one zone I have the client computers. Okay. Now let us move. What are clients basically? First of all, we should understand, if we talk about the cloud computers, then we should understand what are clients. So client can be anyone, right? Client is nothing but a device itself. User is not a client, dear student. Device is a client, you must say. And that device is being used by any of the person, XYZ person. So ultimately what we are saying, that user or the person is interacting with cloud with the help of device. So that device is mandatory. So that device can be anything. It can be a mobile, it can be a thick, it can be a thin. Anything it can be. It can be anything. It can be a laptop, it can be any kind of computer, whatever you want. And thin is a type of client which is most popular, which is most popular. Now, data centers. When you talk about data centers, what exactly these data centers are? So data centers are nothing but the collection of servers. As you see into the on right hand side, I have inserted an image. This image is consist of this image is of data center where you are having a lot of servers inside it. And inside that server your applications are being placed, and you use this server with the help of internet. So you can say there is a hierarchy. I have a server, inside that server I have a lot of applications, and how I can use the how I can access the application with the help of internet. If internet is not there, I won't be able to connect with the server. Okay, if internet is not there, no server, then no application, nothing would be there. So you can make yourself a relation, you can yourself can create a relationship, and you can understand how much everything is very much important. There is a proper hierarchy which is being maintained. Data center is there, and just because of the data center, server are getting home. If there are server, then applications are getting home. So ultimately, whenever we use the internet, first we communicate to the data center. Then after data center, we get an entry into the data center. Okay, once we get the entry into the data center, we call out the servers. After accessing the specific server, we are able to access the application that we want. So it is not a small work, dear student. It is not an easy task. It is a very difficult task that we people are doing. Okay. So this is what the technology is. Now, the next important term, that is distributed server. This is the very famous topic what everyone is doing nowadays. Distributed server means what? It is a kind of server which is not present at one specific place. It will be placed at multiple location. See, sometime what happen, I can give you example of it. Sometime what happen, we are sitting onto the internet, we are accessing some data. We want to access some data, but that data is not currently available. So what we have to do? We have to sit idly. Because when I sit onto the internet, when I write something onto the browser, and when I press enter, so that particular data is going as a request to the server. If that server is not available currently, if it is down, then we get an error 404 not found and something like that. So this is an ideal thing that should happen. My user should not go without the result. It should have some specified result. And how to generate that result? We have to use the distributed server concept over there. So what I will do, I will be creating the replica of one server. And after creating the replica, I will be distributing that replica at different locations. Okay, after distributing the server, what will happen? The user will make a request. For example, my one server is down, not active currently. So that request would be navigated to the another servers. Out of 10 server, imagine I have 10 distributed servers. I have 10 servers. 10, I can say 9 replica of a main server. So what will happen? My request would be bifurcated to the 9 different servers. From any of the server I will get the response, right? So in that case, user is not going anywhere without having the response back. So often servers are in the geographically different places, but server act as if they are working next to each other. Means this is the advantage of your distributed server. They work like they are together, they are attached with each other. But exactly they are not attached with each other. They are somewhere at different locations. Like for example, if you talk about Facebook, imagine. So Facebook one server is in India, Facebook another server would be in Australia, Facebook another server would be in USA, right? But you will never face any kind of problem while accessing the Facebook. Reason is what? They all are applying the distributed server onto them. So you can see how the technology has become, dear student. It has become so devastating. Has become so powerful that you people cannot imagine also, right? So I'm moving forward. Now, we have the various type of service model. Again, this part is coming. That is nothing but onto the basis of the cloud client. We provide this various type of service models, you can say, as PaaS and SaaS. Now let me move to the next part, that is the traditional model. Now what is this traditional? See, there is a traditional model and there is a cloud computing model. So in traditional model, if we have the various type of company, like for example I have five company A, company B, company C, company D and company E. Everyone need to have their own cloud, they need to have their own privatized type of resources. So far, so from diagram you can come to know, say this is company B and this is company A. I have two employee in company A and I have two different employee in company B. They have their own repositories. Here the costing will automatically increase, dear student. The costing will automatically increase. And here we would be requiring an administrator who need to have a continuous track onto these repository areas. So you can say one more opportunity is there, that is the administrator for your cloud, for your repositories. And that administrator need to check thoroughly what is going on so far. And it is the responsibility of that administrator that every time that data should be available. So here the workload is getting increased, right? And we have to pay to that person who is acting as an administrator onto the cloud. We have to pay for the different type of services which are being implemented onto that repository. So it is costing me a lot. So just to retain ourselves from that costing, we came and we shuffled ourselves to the cloud computing, where multiple people can share the same thing among each other. As you see over here, I have two different companies. They are connected through internet, and with the help of internet they're sharing the same thing. They're accessing the same thing at the same instant of time. Like for example, Amazon is an application which is available onto the cloud. Everyone is having that application and everyone is using at a single instant of time. It is never said by the Amazon, imagine if I'm using Amazon app, I'm currently doing the shopping, so Amazon will never tell the other clients or other customer that currently Sapna Sharma is using me, so you cannot use me, you cannot access me. No, it is available to everyone who is there, because since it is being shared. So it is a shared type of service, whereas in traditional model we were not using any kind of shared services over there. And if we implement it into the traditional model, it was very much difficult, very much tedious for us to manipulate the things. So you can understand, dear student, how much things are getting bifurcated. Next, we have the various type of these are the traditional services, and then we have the cloud services, dear student. If you talk about the traditional service, let us study the diagram so far. So as you see, this is the information. This information is going to the internet, where we are having the customer environment over here. See, we have the customer environment, and inside that customer environment we have three levels. One is IT infrastructure, then we have services, and then we have the end users. So ultimately, just because of this IT infrastructures, we are able to place the services, and these services are being used by the end users. So, as you see over here, the traditional service, dear student, we have to do the manipulation on these three things. That is the IT infrastructure, then services, and then end users. We have to deal up with these three things, and we have to manipulate them. We have to adjust them. So, you people from itself, from the traditional service, you can understand how much steps it required, and it is very much time consuming, somehow costly also. You would be requiring a specialized person in order to handle all these stuffs, because end user might be having some problem that need to be get resolved. Services are having some kind of like problem. Sometimes services are not available, though they are present, but they are not available to the others. We are not able to view. For example, customer is complaining that whatever service you are giving, that service are not available. So this can happen just because of the inferior quality of IT infrastructure that you are having, right? So it is very much important to to manage these three things at a single instant of time. And sometimes what happen, everything falls. IT infrastructure falls, then services will also fall, and ultimately your end users will be also fall. So you won't be, your customers would be on hold. You won't be getting anything. On the other hand, if you talk about the cloud services, so in cloud services, the scenario get changed. I have the infrastructure. I have an IT infrastructure, a properly maintained IT infrastructure, and inside that IT infrastructure, I have services. And along with the services, I have information. So whenever end user accessing the internet, so it is accessing two different things. One is the service and second one is the information. Here in a traditional service, if I want to access the information, so that information was accessible but with the help of IT infrastructure. So ultimately I have to maintain this thing over here, but here everything is bifurcated. IT infrastructure and services are interrelated, so they will be managed properly, whereas information is something different. So I can bifurcately use any one of them whatever I want. A customer will be also happy. It will be the satisfied person onto the earth so far. So as you understand from this particular diagram itself, how much things are getting bifurcated, how the things are getting deviated, like something so different. Let me move to the next part. There are some major differences also. The very first major difference is cloud computing is sold on demand. It is not compulsory. It will be on demand. Whatever is your requirement, whatever is your demand, on the basis of the demand, the cloud would be made and it would be given to the end users. And design would be also prepared with respect to the client requirement. But when you talk about the traditional services, in traditional services everything was predefined. You have to use what is being made. But in cloud services it is not so. You will be using what you really want. So the designing, the way of presentation, everything would be in the same into the manner how the users want it. And you will be you the services is managed by the providers who will be providing you the cloud service. They will be managing the service basically. So as a user, you don't have to worry about the services, whereas in traditional services, end user has to manipulate services also. They has to manage the services also. So end user was maintaining the IT infrastructure, end user was maintaining the services. But here in cloud, whoever is providing the cloud, that person need to manage the services so far. The user is not at all worried about it, because user can be the person who may or may not have the knowledge about it. So user can determine the amount of services they take. Means like they can decide how much service they want. Out of 100% they only want 80%. Yes, no problem. You can take 80% also. So whatever level of things you want, you can select. Just like, for example, imagine like in Amazon, you people go and you people log in onto the Amazon. Whatever you find good, you add it to the cart. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि कार्ट में ऐड करने के बाद में you have to forcefully purchase it. No. If you really don't want to purchase the thing which you have added into the cart, you can delete it. Delete भी नहीं करना है तो भी कोई problem नहीं. If you haven't done the payment, then it is nothing like that. Even you get the cashback, you have the trial, you have the return back policy, you have so many things inside it. So these services are being made because users are having a lot of bifurcated determination towards it. Then users can log on to the network from any computer in the world, wherever. It is not compulsory कि जिस computer से आपने first time login किया था उसी computer से आप login कर सकते हो. No, it is not like that, because it is available worldwide. Whereas when you talk about the traditional service, so it was situated on one particular platform, on one particular system, so you need to access it from that system only. Next, while what are the different level of risk that comes in cloud computing? So risk can be one, take long time to resolve. Yes, it is sometimes complicated also. There are a lot of terms and condition issues in cloud computing, a lot of terms and issues. And what happens, since the services are being provided by the provider, that is cloud providers, the cloud provider had to do a lot of money. The cloud provider is having each and every kind of authorization. The user is not involved over there, so the user or the end person need to be dependent on the cloud provider. So far, data migration means the shifting of the data is very much difficult when you change your cloud provider. For example, you are currently using cloud provider X and now you want to use the cloud provider Y. So you have to do the data migration from X to Y, right? So that would be also difficult. What happen if your cloud provider goes out of business? That can also be the case. Imagine in a market there is a launch of a cloud and you find it yes, it is cheap and it is good. Previously you find the very good reviews from the others, you started using it, you paid, and after some time it went down, or it goes out of the business. Now it is not there into the market, or it is not performing. Then what happened? It is a loss to you, right? So failure of the cloud, I have mentioned some data. Amazon failure was there in the April 22 2011. Okay, that is Quora.com, Reddit.com, GroupMe.com, and these were the various type of cloud areas that were the biggest failure of the Amazon. Then Microsoft Online Service hit by major failure, that is Hotmail basically, Office 365 and SkyDrive. These were the Microsoft cloud failures so far in the year 2012. So this is the conclusion of the day, dear students. We have a cloud system which has types, which have modes, different modes. You have the locality specifications also. You have a lot of stakeholders. You can compare to the various level of things. Then you have a lot of benefits. You have a lot of features out of it. So you can consider how much feasible and how much intellectual the cloud is. I understand there were some failures and there are some kind of risk in using the cloud, but yes, if you get 5% or 7% of failure or 7% of risk, and if you get 93% or 92% or 90% of success area, so you will go for the 90% of success area rather than going for the 10% failure. 10% failure is something you can say which happens among lakh of people into one, like only one person out of lakh people would be like that. So I hope this particular session would have been a beneficial session for you, as you had a very good comparison between the traditional IT infrastructure and the infrastructure that you people are using into the cloud. Then you had a comparison between the services of both. So thank you so very much, students. See you into the next session of the cloud computing. I hope this session was beneficial. Thank you.